And it was very creative. I really thought, this is what I've been waiting for. This is the chance to show what I've learned all these years in my training and my experience. I've got to bring to this job whatever I can possibly bring to it beyond what the writers give me. The writers give me some wonderful stuff, but you've got to bring something to the party. You can't just stand there and say the lines. So, for example, we were doing an episode, I think it was called The Enemy Within, where the Kirk character was split into two personalities by a malfunction in the transporter. Transporter comes up, and out comes this kind of scaredy little guy called Kirk, and then the transporter comes up again, and another Kirk comes out as a kind of mean, snarly Kirk. So he's been split into two. This is our version of the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde story. And we come to a scene in the script where the bad Kirk has got his gun pointed at the good Kirk, and he's going to kill him. If he does that, we will never get Humpty Dumpty back together again. So we can't let that happen. So the writer had written that Spock takes his phaser and hits the bad Kirk over the head with the butt of his phaser to knock him out. So I said to the director, wait, that's not appropriate. Not appropriate. So, well, what do you have in mind? I said, well, Spock is a graduate of the Vulcan Institute of Technology. and he took courses in human anatomy. And Vulcans have an energy that comes off their fingertips, which, if it's applied to the appropriate pressure point on a human, will render a human unconscious. Oh, really? I'll show you how this works. And I told Bill what I was going to do. I came up behind him, and I put that pinch on his neck, and Bill dropped to the floor. And that's how the Vulcan neck pinch was born. I knew it was popular because people kept asking me to teach them how to do it so they could do it to their kids. Second season, we got a script from a wonderful science fiction writer named Theodore Sturgeon. It was really a very, very beautiful poetic script. It was called Amok Time. And in that script, the words "live long and prosper" were written and spoken for the first time. And I was particularly excited on my game about this episode because we're going to Vulcan. We're going to see the planet. We're going to see other Vulcans for the first time ever. So I've got to really be ready to look for opportunities here and to develop the story of the Vulcan culture. So we land on the planet. Spock has to go home, as you recall, because he's in heat. It happens once every 7 years. They're well worth waiting for. It's really quite an event. Anyway, so we land on the planet, and here comes this procession out from the city to greet us, and leading the procession is a lady being carried in a sedan chair, wonderful actress playing this character called T'Pau. The actress is Celia Lovsky, a Viennese actress. Great dignity, great power in a very quiet way. And they set her down, and I'm supposed to come and say hello. She says, "Welcome home, Spock." And I don't remember what I said, "It's nice to be here," or whatever. I'm not sure what I said exactly. But I said to the director, I think we have to, let's take a minute here. We have to figure out what Vulcans do when they greet each other. He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, humans shake hands, right? Asian people bow to each other. Military people salute each other. What do Vulcans do?" So he said, "Okay, what do you want to do?" So I reached back into my Jewish heritage. When I was a kid, about 8 or 9 years old, I went to the synagogue with my parents, with my family. And I'm sitting in the men's section with my grandfather, my father, and my brother, myself. And there comes a moment in the service where the congregation is blessed by these gentlemen who are known as Kohanim. They are members of the priestly tribe of the Hebrews. And they bless the congregation with a blessing that's in the Old and the New Testament. In English, it's "May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord cause his countenance to shine upon you. May the Lord turn his graciousness unto you and grant you peace." So these guys get up there, and they're going to do this benediction. My dad says to me, don't look. I snuck a peek. And I see people got their eyes covered with their hands, got their prayer shawls over their heads. And here's these guys up there facing us, and they've got their prayer shawls over their heads. And they're screaming and shouting like a revival meeting. They're in ecstasy, and they're shouting this prayer in Hebrew. And as they're shouting this prayer and their heads are covered, you can imagine the scene. They got their hands out like this over the congregation, like that. And they're shouting this prayer. And I was mesmerized. I thought, wow, this is very cool. Something's going on here. I started working on being able to do that. I spent years of diligent practice and self-denial to learn how to do it. I could do it any place, right hand, left hand, anytime. I had no idea that it might come in handy someday. I later learned, I didn't know why they were doing it. I later learned this is the shape of a Hebrew letter. The letter is called Shin. It's the first letter in the word Shalom, which means peace in Hebrew. So it's an important letter in the Hebrew language. And many years after that, I learned the reason we cover our eyes and don't look is because the belief is that during that blessing, the Shekhinah also starts with a Shin. The Shekhinah, that's the name of the feminine aspect of God, comes into the sanctuary to bless the congregation. And she's a deity. You don't want to see the light that comes off of her because it could be very damaging to a human. So that's why you cover yourself, to cover your eyes, to protect yourself. Anyway, I said to the director, how about if Vulcans do this? He said, okay. So we went to Siedlowski and explained to her, Leonard will do this as he approaches you, and you will return it. And she said, I can't do that. She had not spent the years of diligent practice. But we managed to get it figured out. She hid her right hand and held it in shape with her left hand. And when I raised my hand, she was ready. She raised hers, and that's how we got it into the show. It was a hit immediately. People started doing that to me on the street. Kids, truck drivers, policemen, waiters in restaurants. Hey, Spock! Hey, Spock! So it took hold, and it was very, very gratifying. This is a photograph of me demonstrating with the prayer shawl what it was that I saw as a kid. And this is a photograph that was taken that day on the set, the day we shot that episode. That's what that photograph is from. I signed some of these earlier this morning. It's still a very, very popular photograph. It's the first time that gesture was introduced into Star Trek. This is my son and I. He was visiting me on the set that day, and the makeup department took him in, unbeknownst to me, and they put ears on him. And he came out on the bridge. He's a great guy. He's teaching acting and directing in Los Angeles. His name is Adam, and he's a wonderful son. So, we were off and running. We were doing the show, and shortly after the show went on the air, the fan mail became a problem. It started out with they brought me a little back to me and said, you got some fan letters. Oh, terrific, okay. I'll answer those. And I sat down and wrote thank you notes and signed photographs and sent them off in the mail. And then a stack like that came and I thought, oh, well, okay, I'll do it during lunch while I'm having a sandwich. I'll do that. And then it was impossible. It came in sacks. I mean, seriously, big sacks of mail were coming regularly, and I couldn't take care of it myself. So I asked the studio if they would help me with the postage and the photographs that all were getting costly. I said, will you give me some help with this, because after all it supports the show too. So they said, okay. And then I got this letter from the management. They said, dear Leonard, for the past several weeks we've been consulted with respect to the operation in regard to your personally handling your fan mail. I have iterated myself many times with regard to the agreement that I made with respect to our obligations to you in this connection. For purposes of clarification, we would like to iterate the agreement that was made. In addition to your compensation, we agreed to pay you $100 toward your secretary and equipment needs for your personally handling the fan mail. That's $100 per episode. It is not intended, nor was it specifically agreed, that we would furnish you with pens, pencils, etc., which we assumed you would furnish yourself. So the next day I sent back, I think a memo like that calls for an answer. And I sent back a memo and I said, "Dear Ed, thank you very much for taking the time to send me your memo clarifying our agreement as regards to fan mail supplies, etc. I hasten to assure you that we will no longer need to make requests in this area for some time. Since my secretary and I have gone to various offices around the studio and we have managed to steal all the pens and pencils." The third season was difficult. The third season was tough. We had new producers, we had new writers, and they didn't get it as well as the earlier people had. And it was a tough time. We had an occasionally good show, but the quality was not, generally was not good. It was not good. I was asked on a weekend, on a Friday, they came to me and said, "We're doing an episode next week where you have to sing a song. Do you have an idea of what you would do?" And I said, "Well, no. Do you have a song?" They said, "No. Can you come up with something?" So I said, "Oh, I'll try." So over the weekend, I wrote a song called Maiden Wine, and I later recorded it, but I did do this, I wrote this song over a weekend. And I'll tell you, I won't try to sing it because I haven't got the voice, but it went something like this: "Take care, young ladies, and value your wine. Be watchful of young men in their velvet prime. Deeply they'll swallow from your finest kegs, then swiftly be gone, leaving bitter dregs. Your time hold precious, for youth is your gold. Your beauty, like silver, will tarnish when old. Memories and dreams shall comfort you not when the flow of your sweetness is gone and forgot. Smiling words and tender touch, man offers little and asks for so much. He loves in the breathless excitement of night, then leaves with your treasure in cold morning light." That was called Maiden Wine. I sang that in an episode called, the episode was called Plato's Stepchildren. Look it up. Then the show was canceled. Not because of Maiden Wine, no. The show was canceled. And I was kind of relieved. I thought, I don't want to run this thing into the ground. If it's not going to get better, let's not do it. If it's not going to at least hold its level of quality, let's not do it. Because we did some wonderful stuff. I was very proud of what we did. If we can't maintain that quality, let's not do it. And the show was canceled. And I was cast in Mission Impossible immediately. And I spent here I am with
pretty girl.
Leslie Ann Warren, thank you. And, well, as a kid, I always wanted to be a magician. I got to play a magician in Mission Impossible. This was an episode called The Falcon. It was interesting for a while. I was playing European dictators, Asian dictators, South American dictators. Then after a while, they came around again, the European dictators, South American. I thought, no. And there was no interior life in these characters. It was all charades. So it was kind of superficial acting, but nothing that you could really sink your teeth into. At the end of 2 years, I asked them to let me out. And they did. And I really considered at that point changing careers. I had always loved photography ever since I was a teenager. And I really considered changing my life. I thought, well, I've had 5 years of television and a lot of success and financial security. I don't have to do this anymore if I don't want to. Probably won't make enough money to support my family even without pursuing an acting career. I should look into photography.